Now it's recording.
All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our March 16th, 2022 Facilities Board Committee meeting. So I think we'll go ahead and jump right into it. First, the first item on the agenda is a facilities update. Is that still right?
It's all Bill.
All right, all Bill. What do you got, Bill?
Well, wait, just so you guys know, when Bill signed up for this, Bill did not sign up for a beaver dam. So that was the joke of the day. He goes, look, I signed up for everything, but I didn't know I was in charge of beaver dams too, because of the elementary school. There's a beaver dam now behind the.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah,
and it is new.
Okay, I thought.
And if they keep building it, it will cause an issue for us.
Them.
We do have to talk to DEC.
Yeah. So Bill's just he does basically all of it, you know.
I think that was part of the joke today, like you said. It was,
yeah. So what? I just had to share that joke because it was kind of funny.
What next? Okay. So we'll go over a little bit of what we're planning on. Most of what I'm going to cover is concerning the athletic fields and the everything with what me and Joe have been working on. We have, I think it's 6 loads of infield mix coming in. We plan to spread that on the baseball field, softball fields. We're going to condition the existing ones first before we put the infield mix on. And then the supplier of that, I'm also working with another specialty project to try and build pitching mounds. So I know in the past they haven't been great, but my goal is to try and get those up to speed. We are all set as far as painting, trimming. I mean, everything that needs to happen as far as the athletic fields is in the works. What Joe had said was that he's going to have 4 lacrosse teams this year. So usage of the fields is going to be a little tighter than normal. And it's going to be both boys and girls lacrosse, which requires 2 different field sizes. So there's going to be multiple colors of paint on the lacrosse fields. So I need to have several different colors as well from our painting vendor.
So let's just talk. I just want to say one thing that Bill's doing to save us money. Paint is expensive. So Bill's actually buying the tint for the paint instead of having it mixed there, and it's actually saving us pretty good amount of money.
Yeah, it'll save us a little bit of money. I've actually been back and forth with one of our local hardware stores.
Awesome.
And the other issue with that is if you buy too much white paint, it's not a big deal. You can use it as long as it's sealed. The colored paint doesn't last as long. And if you don't use it, next season, it's not going to be any good. And we only use it in the springtime into a little bit of the summer, where the white paint we'll use all the way through the fall for football and every other sports. So that was another little idea I had to save some money and try and get us ahead of the curve. I mean, as far as the building goes, there's several things that have occurred.
Before we go to the building, let's just finish that up a little bit. You got the stuff back about the fields. We were talking about the nitrate and all that other things.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So I waited a little while till it was just before time and had all the soil testing, came back. Our fields are actually in really good shape as far as what we need for fertilizer. The biggest hiccup is several of them, or the majority of them, need nitrogen, but it's at such a low rate, it's almost minuscule. It's 3 pounds per 1,000 square feet. So it's a very low amount of nitrogen. There's several others that are calling for, I think it was magnesium oxide was the other one that we need. We need to have magnesium to some of the other fields. That's it. There's no other issues as far as any need for other fertilizers on them. With that, I listed it as a mixed blend of grasses because the grasses that are out there were never substantially one breed or another. So we can look into whatever is the best idea. There are previous turf studies done that the district has paid for. So I'm going to look at those and see what we're going to buy for grass seed according to what that. Basically, we have an open range because of this. So we have not aerated. Aerating in the fall, it became too wet too quickly. And that basically would have rototilled all of our existing turf and fields. And right now, we're pretty much at the same situation. Probably going to look into another piece of equipment. Not that you guys need to know, but the current aerator is PTO driven. You would have to match the ground speed to the speed of the PTO, or it rototills. I'm thinking of buying a simple pull behind that just rolls across the ground like a roller. Doesn't matter what speed you go, and it's obviously way cheaper because it's no mechanical device to it. So that's pretty much it on that.
So nice having him, right?
That was the
It's
point,
much
right?
different than last year, Bill.
Well, thank you.
That was
Thank
like,
you.
because the whole big concern has always been, you know, how are we doing our fields? What's the maintenance plan of the fields?
Mhm.
Are they going to get done? That was part of the director of facilities. I know we get a couple of concerned parents regarding our athletic facilities, and they call and they say, how are you getting ready? And I say, don't worry, our director of facilities is working on it and has a plan to get it up. So, you know, and Bill does. And then,
I mean, in some of this, we created a plan B. You know, man, I came up with a plan B in case everything goes.
the one thing I
sideways.
will say, because, you know, everybody's plan is great until you try to put it out and things happen. We are having some staffing issues that we are working through right now. We have an employee who is currently out on medical, and so we're down some staffing that we're working through. But we got some interviews coming and stuff, and we have a plan to still accommodate the need to get everything ready. But staffing is an issue from time to time. The other thing is that we're doing it March 25th. Joe is actually having what's he calling it? He's calling it something where it's basically a senior service day, and the kids are going to actually come. And one of the services is help put up fences.
Yeah.
You know, do some of our facility, like, you know, clean up our yard a little bit. So it's the kids volunteering community service hours to help put things up and set things up as well. And so we'll be well and prepared for all of that. And
Yep.
Bill's got it under
Yep.
control. So you can go to inside now.
Inside, we've just been working on, you know, the typical stuff you do during the winter. Some of the things that have been overlooked for a couple of years or more are boiler inspections and PM. So we're setting up preventative maintenance agreements and had those established. And just going down that route of taking care of things that have been overlooked because nobody's been in a role to manage this. That's pretty much it. Supplies and trying to find parts for everything and anything, including the maintenance, you know, aspect of the preventive maintenance, has been a major issue. I am still waiting on one door. I think it was my second week I started here, and this is 6 months, and I still haven't received the one door because of supply chain issues. So this is you know, we all hear it on the news, but it is affecting us as a school district as well now. So that's
Anything
it.
else on that for Bill or any questions?
How about the roof leak? All better?
It's
Yeah, I heard there's still a bucket
the
somewhere.
bane of our
Yeah.
existence.
Yes, yes.
Bummer.
That is something that I think I am going to inherit, that my department will have to manage.
Hmm.
There is an issue with that where work was done. It was done to an engineer spec and what the recommendation was, and our roofing vendor wants more done to the roof. So I'm still back and forth with them. Might not be the final word, but we still have a leak. I think I have it narrowed down. We had a roofing survey that the district paid for, which was great. It established what product to use, and it also established I kept asking for tracing dye. So I'm going to put some tracing dye in one spot, wait a week, did it pop up in the pail? If it's not from that location, put tracing dye in the other suspect location and see if that migrates through. Then we'll know where our leak is coming from, because in the past it's been just put tracing dye all over and you don't know where the location was. So
The work that we did have done and like sealing it
slowed it down a lot.
and it did stop the issue for a little while.
Yes,
And we're not having the giant pour that we used to have,
right.
but it's just highlighted now. We fixed one area, so, you know, but we realize there's another layer underneath something that we have to find. So not yet, but we'll get to it. All the other leaks though, like, I think this is important. We did have a good amount of leaks going on in the buildings. Probably had between the elementary school and high school? Four or five, right?
Good leaks besides the minor,
Right.
you know.
That are all gone except for this one. So
No, oh, there's another one. There is two.
okay.
Yeah, no, there is two. I got to be honest about it, but yes. And the elementary school, both buildings are different type of roof on top of it, right? This is, I think everything here is a rubber roof. So it's rolled out material, glued down, you know, and everything's, all the edging and all the curbing is all glued up and seamed. The elementary school is almost 100% what's called built up material, which is your old school tar and stone. So that's a little bit different, you know, and you go about fixing it in a completely different manner. That one for us to fix is actually way more difficult because you typically use hot tar and then put a stone over it to build it up. So, Both of those are addressed in the building condition survey and the long-term plans to repair each.
We have a good plan and system, and we're in a good spot. So, any other questions on that one? All right, let's go over use of facilities. So you have a bunch in front of you. I think the question that I want to ask the board now is, we're in green for the county. I think I just need to know, what do you want me to open up? I'm at the point where, you know, we're about 70% capacity, 65, 70%, which is about 550 people in there. But I mean, how far is too far at this point? I mean, are we allowing dance recitals to come in? Are we looking at, you know, doing that? Like, that's kind of the question of the month, I think.
Is everybody else so far, or people haven't?
I gotta be honest with you, we really haven't had the conversation in other districts. A lot of districts are really kind of loosening it up even more than we are, some of them. So, but I haven't had the conversation is, you know, are you allowing outside groups? Yes, they are. How many are you allowing? Like, what's your capacity? I haven't had that conversation. I mean, my recommendation is we allow outside groups. We're in green, you know, we're a community support, we're a community hub. I think you need to have outside groups come in. The question I'm just going to ask is, do we put capacity limits on that, or do we leave that full capacity since we're in green? I think
What?
Trish was waiting for you to see if you're going to say
I
something.
was waiting for Trish. I don't know. I mean, it seems like you would, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess I can't think of a reason not to if we're just going by green, yellow, whatever. But you know, I'm assuming in the contract, I know there's less COVID protocols, but there's still COVID protocols, right? People still have to follow that, right? Like, you're not allowed to, you know, right?
We would have that, and I would also, you know, I would tell anyone who's going to use our facilities is that we're monitoring the situation, and if the situation changes where we see spikes, that will impact the capacity ability of what we'd be able to offer. As we're in green and we're, you know, we're showing zeros for the district for the past couple of days.
And our mitigation, our tiered system now green, everything was just go, right? I'm just trying to remember the little chart we had.
So that's kind of gone now. So the green, it's, if you look at where we are now, it doesn't have levels.
Okay.
We now just have a mitigation plan. So we're always basically doing things at this point in time to mitigate the virus.
And doing this goes along with our plan.
Correct.
I just want to make sure we're not in conflict with ourselves.
No, no, it doesn't.
I mean, the only
in our plan, it says that we can have higher capacities.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's always been community use has been, you know, at the discretion of us.
Okay.
But at this point in time, we're green. I mean, it kind of.
I mean, I think I agree with you. Green is.
Yeah.
And as long as groups know if it's yellow or red,
Right.
You know,
Things change.
Things are going to change, just so they're aware that we could pull the rug out if we had to.
And we did talk at the board meeting the other night about if we have very localized outbreaks here, right? Are we gonna?
Yeah, that's why I said we're at 0 right now.
How would we define a localized outbreak, do you think, Frank?
So I sent the board in one of my my news and notes of basically a generic breakdown of 0 to 0.49 and how many cases that was for the district, and then how many cases per week that was. I would use that chart if you're at 1% or more of your student population, you know, per week.
In the course of a week.
In the course of a week, I would consider that, you know, really high.
Yeah.
And then, you know, because that is a large number, if it's back to where our high numbers were, and I would consider that an outbreak. You know, I would use those numbers based off of that for that. And if we're seeing 40, you know, 30 and 40 again, that's an issue. You know, if we're seeing.
Well, I mean, 1%. What's 1% of our student population is like 12, right?
13. 13.
13. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And what would you do if you had an outbreak? Just like shut it down for a week, or like what would that mean?
Well, we watched it and shut it down. So like, but I don't think I'd stop the plays or stop those things from happening. We would just
Limit capacity.
limit capacities and do things like that. Because again, you don't know where those are coming from. You don't know if a kid had a birthday party and 7 kids are over there from
Yeah.
somewhere else, so you don't really know where these are.
Agreed. I'm just
Yeah.
making sure we know what that would look like
Yeah.
before it happens.
Yeah, if we had it, so here's what we would do if you want to go into like the specifics of it. If we went into red, I would limit again, we would increase our facility use of spraying and doing all those different things. We would stop any community organization coming in for a little bit of time, saying, nope, we're done. We'd only allow the practices that occur that we'd already be allowing, but if there were any community events coming in with large people, we'd say, no, we're going to stop for a little bit, take a break, and then the next week after it comes back, monitor it, and then go back.
Okay.
I mean, stop it, Trish.
I just wanted to make sure,
Just so you know, with me, I always have a plan. So,
I just was curious what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, my only other comment on the outside use stuff with, and it's probably a non-issue, but we've always tried to be fair to our students, fair to whatever, so that like we still have at least an attempt at 3-foot distancing right during school, but we're not encouraging 3-foot distancing for if somebody rents out the place, for example. Is it a different set of rules?
no, we'd be encouraging it.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's part of our mitigation plan to encourage 3-foot distancing. So whatever our plan states is what we encourage, and it'd be in our plan, it'd be in it. But 3-foot distancing is really nothing, right? It's really
no, but it is if you rent out the pack, right? You can't sit smack next to somebody.
Yeah, but if you're in green, you're not doing 3-foot distancing.
We are at the school right now, right?
In the classrooms, yes, but for a community organization coming in who's going to rent our facility as an auditorium, I wouldn't say in green that they would have to go 3 feet, and that's up to the board, but I don't think so. It's a community organization.
I'm just calling it out as a.
If it's a school issue, I'm going to do 3 feet. But if it's a dance recital from someone outside the community that has it from other places and they want to rent our facility and we're in green, I'm not going to put a 3-foot social distance in it. If we're in yellow, then there will be a 3-foot social distancing mark put in where they have to keep a seat. Right now for our play, we're asking our community members to have 1 seat, breaking it up because it's a school event.
Yeah,
that
makes sense. I'm just calling it out as one of the things we've always talked about was making sure that all the rules are always the same, and this one would be one that's slightly different, but it's fine.
I'm kind of changing my mind on it a little bit because not on what I just said, but on it being the same. Now that we're in green, right? I'm not saying when we were in red because I was saying that in November, right?
Yep.
But now that we're in green and it's low transmission rates, and we're renting our facilities back open again for community use, and I'm talking the auditorium specifically, right? In my mind, if it's not a school-affiliated thing, I'm not going to say the 3-foot and all that stuff. That group is going to be solely responsible if there's an outbreak. I mean, that's on them. But for us, but if we change it and if you see the rates go up, then I think we should definitely impose some more stricter things.
Yep, that's fine.
So we enjoy green while we have it.
Enjoy it while you have it because we know what's happening right now.
Yes, we do.
So
Europe.
Yeah, so let's see what happens for as long as we have it. So what you'll see a few people who want to reserve some dates for the auditorium. I'll reach out to them and basically tell them yes, like we can start talking about it, but be forewarned that if there's an increased spike, if things change, this is subject to change or cancellation.
Right.
Because if we're canceling for our kids, we're canceling for everyone else. I think that's the fair part of it. Make sense?
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else? And please don't apologize for conversation. That's what we have. We want to have conversation. Talk about it.
Nope, all good.
So New Scotland Soccer Club put in, and this use of facilities kind of goes with theirs, so I'm going to ignore it for now.
Is that separate? That use of facilities though is separate from the contract stuff, correct?
Jim, no, it follows along with the terms of the contract. So
Yeah, it follows along with the terms of the contract.
But there is, and I'm sorry, I just have the contract open now. I haven't read it since last year, but I think in the contract we talk about field use specifically, right? But or no?
Yeah, we talked about both, I thought.
Yeah, field use and use of other facilities as well, including classrooms and things like that. That's all in
In the
there.
gym.
But just, and I may have this wrong, because this is the one thing that I wanted to at least personally visit that we talked about potentially revisiting when the contract came back up. But they don't need to submit use of facility stuff for like the satellite fields.
Yes, they do.
Oh, they do? They have to submit that separate?
They should, because it's use of any facility.
Yeah, so even if they, so let me explain something. And this is practices, right, new superintendent? If you're using our facilities, you're putting in a use of facilities. Like, you know, even though the contract states it, that's great, but that doesn't mean he has the documentation that he needs to be able to show that there's a use of facilities going on. So we still want the use of facilities, you know, it's just a form, but we want those forms on file that we can have them as documentation that people are utilizing our stuff. So we ask for them to fill out that.
Right. So in the, and here's where it's different, I think, from maybe the inside. So the indoor is referenced, I think, in the clause, right? It just references that, hey, we'll use it in the spring. But then it gets into specifically that the satellite fields are theirs Monday through Friday every day, Saturday every day, and Sunday every day, right? So basically April through June, nobody else could ever do a facilities request for those because it belongs to the Scotland Soccer Club, right?
Unless our athletics has to use it, and then they trump. But yeah.
If
Right,
the board
so-
says, I think here's what you're asking, Rob. You're saying if somebody else goes in, do they get it? And Jim and I were having this conversation. These people wanted it, and we're renting it to them. So, you know, the answer is no, because they've already rented it for those purposes. If the board wants to limit their time and leave open spots for other people to go in, then it has to be negotiated within the contract. But, you know, they're renting our facilities for those days. That's the renter.
Right. But do they end up actually using them every single day of the week during all of those times, right? And maybe the answer is we don't know because they don't file the use of facilities for them on each, right? Like each whatever usage. What I'm getting at, so I think last year, the year before, like lacrosse is getting more popular here now, and I'm sure like lacrosse would love to use those fields too if they, but I don't think anybody's ever asked because New Scotland Soccer Club does. Maybe there will be days that New Scotland Soccer Club is not using it where somebody else might use it, but you know, the way the contract is written, nobody else could really ever request it, right? Even if it wasn't being used. Is that correct or no?
That's the way it looks like to me.
Yes.
Right.
Do you want to change it?
I don't know if I do or not. I just want to have a conversation about it, I guess, and see what, you know, is that, to me, it felt a little bit out, and I don't want to get myself in. I love New Scotland Soccer Club. My kids have done New Scotland Soccer Club and all that. But is that, it just seemed a little out of the ordinary to me, that sort of, but maybe it's not, you know, is that other places you've been, Frank, or Jim? Is it?
I was in a district where there was a soccer club and they had those fields for the times that they were there, and you know, they used them. I mean, they had control of it.
And it's very similar to the kids club as well. They have a certain spaces that they're allowed under the contract. So I mean it's not unusual.
No one's reached out and said like
Mhm.
we want to use it or we want to do it. I understand what you're saying. It locks it in for a period.
Yeah, it just
of
feels
time.
like we're limiting, and nobody could ever ask, as opposed to like, you know, and maybe New Scotland Soccer is using it all of those days, all of the times. I don't know the answer to that.
When your kids were in it, did they? I don't know.
But it's
I've
hard to
never
tell
been
because
affiliated with it, and I
it's
honestly
one
have
age
nothing.
group, right? And just like once or twice a week over there in the evenings,
I
don't know. But I was just wondering if it's worth putting in a, you know, like, I don't know. It just feels like it limits the district. But if it doesn't, and if it's everybody else is fine with it, I'm fine.
So the district's never limited because we have the right to bump them anytime we want.
Correct.
So
that's
we
we're
do.
never-
part of the policy.
It's
Number
part of the policy
19.
too.
Number 19.
Yeah. So we're never limited. So always, 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 we come first, right? Our kids come first. So, yes, we want our community using our groups. Yes, we want it. But if our kids are going to miss out on something because of something being used, we have bumping rights. Kids first. Trish, you were going to say New Scotland Soccer Club.
It was a while ago when my children did it, but yeah, they had so many age groups using it that they definitely rotated days and used it almost every night of the week.
Yeah.
And then they had games on Saturdays.
So it is.
So they were using it.
Yeah.
Which is great. I mean, it's all Voorheesville kids.
Right.
But I do see Rob's point. Like, we don't necessarily
look. I like
back.
precision and I like understanding, right? Like, and to me, being like because what is it like? Especially the Saturdays and the Sundays. And again, maybe it is all days, every Saturday and every Sunday. But at Saturdays and Sundays are 9 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. Right?
Right.
Like, are they really using it for all of that time period? Like, I don't know, but I guess it would be nice to start tracking it, but it seems like they're not doing facility use requests for their actual times on top of the contract. So it's hard for us to say if it's getting utilized. So maybe
the facilities use request that they put in, and they have put one in for, and will put one in
for the indoor, they do.
For the outdoors as well, for any facility request. They're actually paying for coverage for things to be opened up and things like that at the satellite field as part of the fee. So if they aren't using it, they would have to let us know.
Because we're putting in the cost into their usage. So if they say we're going to use it from 9 to 7, and we want the bathroom open from 9 o'clock until 7 o'clock at night, we're paying somebody to go back that they have to cover to be able then to lock up and do the things over there. So it would behoove them, if they're using it correctly, to then have the right things on it, because it does impact their bottom line. Here's my suggestion, if this concerns you. Instead of doing, because no one's come to me yet this year. No, there's been no conversation. And if someone says, I really want to use a field, then we can have conversations about it. But they have to do their 22-23 school year. And I'm not going to say, well, look, I know you have it planned for all 5 days. And we could ask them for a usage charge. Jim, you want to maybe put it in the contract? Like, what is it? What is the word I'm looking for? It's an actualization of time used.
A calendar of time used.
Yeah, calendar of time used, so we can evaluate it. And we make this a 1-year contract. So that way you're not blocking it in for 5 years. So therefore, if another...
Oh, is this a 5-year?
It's until 2027. So 2022 to 2027. So, or what is it? 22, 23.
It's 5 year,
Yeah, it's 5 year. So break it down to a 1-year contract. They've had 5 years. That's what they've done longer term contracts. But just do a 1-year contract at 1 year at a time.
Yeah, I'm just kind of curious how I don't know. Yeah, I don't know the answer to those questions. Just questions, I was asking for, is it actually utilized the whole time, and do we have data around it? And then also, we have
no idea. So I think the question that's going to come is, and I think you bring up a valid point, is this is limiting other community usage of our fields, right? And if we're a school community school, then if there's other ones, can they also use it, right?
Yep.
But then
it may not be limiting.
Yeah. But then, but then how do you decide too, if it does come up, who gets dibs, right? That's going to be, you have to be prepared for that, right? If it does come, let's say lacrosse gets huge and they want to use that field 4 times a year and they want to use it 5 times, who gets dibs on it? Because someone's going to get it and someone's not.
Or they could share. There might be a way.
How do we do that right now with the gyms?
We share. We make schedules.
Right.
Yeah, CYO was actually working with New Scotland to make sure they could take some
And
time.
as Joe said before, when we talked about this last time, I believe at facilities, Joe was here, he said, we've never had an issue with New Scotland Soccer Club before. And if there was anything, they've always been able to schedule around and work through it. So I think it's kind of moot at this point.
No, I think so.
But 5 years is a long time.
It is.
Right? You don't know what's happening. So I'm cool with doing 1 year, 2 years.
Does the 5 year lock in the rate for the entire 5 years?
That's probably
It does. That's what we put in.
Yeah.
Until we change this document, the policy, it would stay the same.
Yeah. The rates are based off of what the board policy is.
So I mean, if that is a concern to them, I mean, maybe there's a way, I don't know.
Do we have any materials costs incurred in, or would that be on a use by use? Is there any like sort of materials costs that would be covered by the money in the contract?
Potentially, yes.
Like field upkeep, right? Like degradation of the field, like, you know, is
There's no specific, there's no specific line item for it.
No, I know.
But the payments for use of the field would be used towards that purpose.
So if you wanted to put those things in, you'd have to then go back to the policy and say, if people are using that field, you know, how much does it all cost this? And is our price that we have for that rental fee, does it encumber that? And if not, and you need to raise it, then you need to raise that policy.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, the only other thing I'm getting at is, and hopefully, you know, hopefully in a year, not anymore, but like 8% inflation right now, you know, materials cost is increasing dramatically in many sectors. And, you know, I wouldn't like to see us locked into 5 years of a, you know, 2022 price when 2025 prices are now radically different. And I understand there's ways to go back with them and whatever, but
Well, let's make sure it's in the contract, and here's what I mean. Does it say in the contract pricing is based on board policy and subject to change if board policy changes?
It does not currently, no.
Let's put that in there. And there's your answer, right? Pricing is based on subject to board policy and is subject to change based on board policy.
Well, the 1-year idea also kind of helps protect
Yeah.
us with inflation.
But I think both too, right? Because I mean, if let's say the board, we say we're doing this, and all of a sudden the board goes, you know what? Let's look at the policy. Let's not say this year, next year.
Yeah.
And they want to do it, but we've already said that it's X to them. But we realize that it's actually losing the district funds because of the cost of things. We do want to have a way to increase that if needed. So I think putting it in. So we're going to add that line, and we're going to go back to them with a 1 year. And just say, look, because of everything that's going on, because of inflation, because we want to monitor and make sure, you know, if there's ever use or things like this, we are going to do 1 year. We want to continue our partnerships. We foresee this partnership continuing for the next 5 years. But at this point in time, we feel 1 year each year renewable is something we want to look at. And we can even put a subject to renewal each year and put a time.
yeah, sure.
Makes sense?
Yeah.
I want to add one thing, and I came in on the tail end, so I don't know what prior precedent was. They utilize part of the building for storage, from what I understand. They had a key to the garage bay and had equipment stored in the garage bay. Is that a normal, has this been going on year after year, or, again, I came in at the tail end, I know nothing. I mean,
It wasn't really going on when I was here, so I have no idea.
Okay.
This is all new to me.
I always saw coaches card.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't see anything in the contract about it.
I don't either, and
What
again,
garage
I
bay?
came in at the
The
tail
one over
end. If it's needed, you know what I mean, that's fine, just address it.
Do
and
they
we'll
have, New
share.
Scotland Soccer Club has a key?
This is the thing. I don't know. I came in at the tail end. I don't know what occurred, but another outside of our school district was utilizing our garage space.
The garage
So-
over there.
Yes.
But we don't know who though.
No.
Okay.
I
All right.
was
So
told,
let's make sure that
I
we
was
don't know
told,
who
yes,
knows.
that's what I'm saying.
So
need
we
to-
don't know if it was soccer or if it was.
Baseball.
No, it was a soccer club. It was a soccer organization.
Okay.
I think
But
that's
I
the only
don't-
one.
Well,
Do we know if the stuff is still there?
there is no soccer equipment in that building at this point.
Okay.
That I know.
So let's do this. Let's monitor it. And if soccer stuff comes in, then we can address it. Let's just do that.
And I was giving a key.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I came in at the end. I don't know
Yeah.
what occurred. I'm just bringing it up now because we're
If
doing it.
If it happens, then we hit it.
Okay.
And we address it.
Yeah, I mean, if they need a place for storage, that's fine, but that kind of thing should be in the contract.
Pay for
I mean,
Well, and
Pay for it. Storage is key. Like storage is
Yeah.
like the most important thing around here.
oh yeah.
yeah, well, pay for it, and then I would assume there's liability stuff around it too. I mean, what if, you know, what if somebody throws out all their stuff by accident, right?
I have a mower in there and some other equipment that goes in there. So
So if this stuff goes in, we'll address it.
perfect. Thank you.
Good on that?
Yes.
Sweet. And Jim, you'll take care of all that
I
stuff?
will, yes.
Awesome. Kids Club contract?
Anything changed from the last time?
Yes, there was a couple changes in. So we put a couple more legal aspects into it.
Mhm.
you know, the access to facilities has changed, the pricing has changed. Do you want to talk about the pricing for New Scout Soccer Club?
Well, I have to look at the policy. I was just curious how the rate was determined.
Jim actually has it. I forgot that we were
The
going to do
rate
that.
for CYO versus
So-
the rate for Kids Club.
The significant difference comes from CYO only using the elementary gyms only and for a shorter period of time.
For this year.
For this year, yes.
Okay.
Um,
And that was the 900.
455.
Oh.
Yeah,
I don't know
for
where
the
I'm
two
coming
gyms
up
for
with, sorry
13
about that.
weeks. So,
Okay.
the New Scotland Soccer Club, of course, uses 3 facilities over at the satellite field. They use classrooms. They also use it on Sundays, which is not time when it's usually open. So there's an additional charge there that's part of the policy.
Okay.
If you look under professional fees, that's very specifically in there. So using all of that, you work up what the number is.
He's got to work up for you.
Yeah, I mean, it
Oh,
just,
nice.
so
Thank you.
you go through and figure out what the numbers are and you put it in there. So, I mean, that's basically what it comes out to is
Okay.
that 3,800. So,
You want to give Trish the workup so she sees it?
yeah, why don't I send it out? Because
Yeah.
everyone can see it.
Oh, yeah, it's fine. But yeah, and so the board, this is why I think it's super important with the board policy.
Yeah.
Is that policy really is prescriptive of what you charge and what you don't charge. So if there was ever going to be a conversation about changing fees or anything like that, Jim does all of it by the letter.
Oh,
by
I
the
wasn't
policy.
suggesting.
No, but
taking it.
that's, I think it's important
No, I
that
was just curious.
no, but I think it's good because I don't think everybody understands that though in our community, right?
They don't because I've been asked,
Right,
like, you know.
right. So
So the Sunday fee is because we have to open and close the bathrooms?
Correct. Because we have to have someone come out on a day that
Yeah.
we're not usually
Right.
working. So.
and I want to be clear because Jim, who's really good at this,
Yeah.
is, and I don't know what's been done here in the past, but I know Jim is, he line items every penny of what's being charged to be able to show for it.
Yeah.
So, and I think that policy is, as you look at it again, because I was taking the gym, I go, well, what about the increase in paint this year? And what about, because I was asking the same questions and it was, well, the policy says this, right? So
Well, and
the same question you had, Rob, was the same question I had.
we benefit as a district too, though, from the mowing and the paint, right? Because we use those fields or we don't at all,
We do. The
So-
mowing would occur.
Not the
but
summer.
not necessarily the paint.
Oh, yeah, we still mow in the summer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but we don't use them.
no, we do not utilize them in the paint, but right.
We
The
would
paint would
have
be
to
the,
maintain
yes, the
them
paint
anyway.
and, yeah, we mow them, but we don't line them all
Right,
summer. I
right.
mean, the
Not
lining
all
is,
summer, right.
right.
Gotcha.
I have a question. In the summer, do we mow, how far?
so you're supposed to take a third
Okay,
is the max that you would take.
okay.
So,
So there's no reason, like, we're always gonna do in the summer, leave it longer, even though they want it shorter, let's say, like,
But they're not asking for summer. They're only through
Oh.
June.
oh, okay, never mind.
So we're not doing anything.
No. So that's fine then.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought so. Okay, good on that?
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. So, Kids Club, transportation's there, miscellaneous payment, the non-discrimination clause, the termination of agreement, the COVID-19 is the new part. And I forgot, I had
Frank,
this
are
up
the rooms listed up top? Are those the same? Is that all
Yep.
identical to last year?
Those are all identical.
Okay. And this is a 1 year, right? These are always 1 year?
Yep, these are always 1 year.
And
Okay.
those rooms work with expecting maybe another kindergarten class.
Yep, everything works.
I assume.
Okay.
No, get it.
The transportation costs, I mean, is that based on, like, the price of fuel fluctuates, that we're still fine? I mean, it's not like they go far, right? But that $2.50 a mile, whatever it is we're charging them.
So that's, yes, that would be about what our current costs are at this inflated level. So I would, this is something that can be revisited in the future. The $32.50 per hour is just a kind of an average across all of the
Sure.
people who can drive bus. Because the buses basically go 6 miles per gallon. We have to figure that out.
He's still there. Rob is still there. I'm
What, you
looking at-
can't see me?
I'm looking for something because you asked me for the changes and what's different. So I have to go, I actually have to go to a different document and get it. Because I don't know it off the top of my head. I'm good, but I'm not that good.
That's good.
Hold on. I'm gonna pull up some color-coded changes here as soon as I can find it. It's really slow. Jim, you know what I'm pulling up, right? You saw it.
The red line.
Yeah, the red line. Rob, you're not gonna see this, so I apologize. But I'm just showing the red lines. So in it, we put in like a little bit more formal language, the contact persons for it. We put in the times when services will be performed before and after school. Access to facilities, the district shall provide access to the following areas of facilities during those times. Instead of being site will provide, we were just a little bit more specific in the language. So some of the language has changed. We had the attorneys look this over for us as well, just to make it a little bit more specific, as I've done with all the contracts since I've gotten here. In addition to foregoing the blah, 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 and then I want to go down to the next, oh, son of a gun. Hold on, coming down to the next page. So at the bottom here, the last page where it says assignment, relationship, non-discrimination clause, termination of agreement, and COVID-19 and modification, that's new. So I knew there was, I didn't want to say it for sure, but all those are new. Very fair, very appropriate, but better to have in a contract, especially with an organization, of their magnitude. It's OCFS guided. They utilize our facilities, but they are not affiliated. So I think having these things in there are important. So good. I wanted to make sure I told you the right things that were added.
And this fee again comes off of this.
Correct. Well, Jim, explain that.
So
That's the fee that you guys always had for Kids Club?
correct. Based on this, theoretically, it could be 14,000 maximum.
Okay.
What my argument, and probably the argument in the past, was they're providing such a service to the community that, that kind of slight discount, and they're using so many facilities, I think we're okay with it.
Okay.
It is a little more if you go by the letter of
But
policy.
but by the letter says they're using every gym after school every day.
Right.
It's all the time, and they're not. They're not always using all of our facilities. So.
Right. And sometimes they let us use them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Any questions on this,
I don't have any.
Rob? We just been got 2 items at once. All right. That was 2 agenda items at one time, I think,
Woo.
right? It was.
Yes. 3 and 6.
So are we good with going with status of EPC and RFP now? Where we are with that?
I am.
All right. So the EPC, we're really not anywhere farther with it. John is working through and going through the process now. I just think it's important to talk about the EPC in comparison, and that's not on here.
Which?
The project. I wanted to talk about the project. I thought.
That was on your agenda, but.
It was on my agenda, but
Yeah,
not
no.
on this one. All right, that's all right.
That's
I'll
okay.
add it anyways. So the status of the EPC is they're looking into it and they're looking at all the stuff. And again, that's all either energy efficient lighting, LED stuff, but also does the BCS work. the building condition survey work where the bigger stuff like the desert air. So that's what we're hoping to do, right? Get those cost savings. I think it's important to utilize the EPC and if we do a potential capital project. And here's the important aspect of why I'm saying that, is we're gonna need all capital reserve funds to go into the capital project. If we take away capital reserves to do the EPC stuff, like without doing an EPC, then we're losing the amount of reserves there, and that's gotta be made up by our taxpayers. If you want to do both things and you want to be able to do all your energy stuff and hit our BCS and do the project, the EPC is the way to go because you use those cost savings for the future, and then you already utilize your capital reserves. So it makes them a little bit more feasible to get more done in a timely fashion. And if not, you're going to have to space out that work further and then have a little bit more budgetary demand where you don't know where the budget's going to go in 3 years or 4 years. Did I do that right, Jim?
You got it right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Rob, you look like you're perplexed a little.
No, I'm good.
Okay. I know before with the EPC there was a couple questions about it, but now that we talked about the capital project, I just wanted to put it in kind of that term, because let's say we have $2.5 million for capital reserve that we want to put towards the capital project. And in order to do the EPC, we would need what, Jim?
Well, it depends on the size of the EPC, but I mean, we're talking, let's call it a $2 million project. We need $800,000.
Right. So $800,000 of that would come out of that, and then we would only have like 1.7 to go to the capital, to the capital project. So it just gives us a little bit more flexibility. Again, I'm going to preface this. I don't know what the EPC will bring us. So it could be bringing us everything, or it could give us absolutely nothing, right? I have no idea if it's even going to be worth it to do it, but I just wanted to show how the two of those kind of work together. Cool. All right, and where we're at, I'm going to talk about the project then. So we talked about the project at the board meeting for the elementary school, re-envisioning the elementary school. The board, first time seeing it, I think the rest of the board was pretty happy with it, it seemed. So our next steps, Jeff, myself, and the architects are meeting with the elementary school staff, and we're actually going to just give them the generic idea of what it is, like basically blank slate, and then have them give us all of their thoughts. Because they use that facility more than we do, right? More than I do. And I want to hear what they have to say about, what they would love to see, and, if we want to relocate rooms and how we would do class sizes and how we would, maximize the space without mine or Jeff's input. I think getting a very clear input is really important. So that's what we're doing first. After that, Jeff, myself, and the architect are going to take the building, all their input, all the stuff from the BCS, my wish list of things that I already have, because there are very specific things that I feel very strongly have to get done down there. And then figure out kind of where we could go with the project and figure out costs. We also are working through getting the site survey done now for up here. So after we have that done, we'll be a little bit closer to understanding cost.
The geotechnical survey as well, which we just received the information on. So.
Any questions on those things?
No. I like that you're asking for the user's input.
Yeah.
They might have things you never even.
The way I do
Would've
building
thought of.
projects is I usually don't share my thoughts really clearly until I get everyone else's, and then I do it because I'm missing something. I'm going to miss something.
Well, they'll know the inefficiencies.
Right. Or
what they're dealing with now.
Right. Or if there's something they really want to do that just isn't effective or not there, I can maybe find another way to do it.
Right.
So it's just, there's good possibilities.
No, collaboration's always good. So thank you.
Okay. The $100,000 project. Bill, you want to talk about that quick?
The surveying piece for both the drainage and the survey piece up here will be starting tomorrow. Haven't gotten too many bids back. I understand we have one bid back for HVAC, and that's it so far. So that's all in the works. Starting tomorrow, essentially, the survey piece will be starting.
So we're getting there. Hopefully we'll get it done and get it over with.
And the beavers don't affect the drainage issues that we currently have.
And by the way, that $100,000 project may affect the lacrosse request that we received because they're going to be
there.
Oh, that's a really
They're
good
going to be
point.
in that. Yeah,
Do they know that?
they're going to be
They
in
don't
the
know
first.
that yet. No, I wanted to have that discussion first.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to affect all 3 fields. I think they're going to be just affecting the first area. So, but we'll see tomorrow. We'll find out. Yes, there's a possibility.
So lacrosse put in these facilities, but if we're tearing up the field down there for drainage and fixing it, they might not be able to utilize that.
At the elementary school?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because of the potholes and the issues that we're having now.
Same if we get our wish with the tennis courts.
Right. Oh, so tennis courts. So we are getting bids on this.
Yes.
Bill has been finding a couple extra places that the first bid we got was 250,000. We've gotten bids that are much less than that now. Like
100 less.
yeah.
Wow.
So
And it does what we want.
it does
Yes.
exactly what we
And
want.
this quality.
Yeah, I said this. I asked him the same thing. There, I go, what do they do? He goes, they do tennis courts. Because I said the same thing. Like, really. It's good. Is it one of those things, like where they're not? No, they're legit companies that do tennis courts and do that work. But it's cheaper.
Yeah.
So the goal is really nice tennis court. Fix our track because it's up for resurfacing. If you ever want to blow out the track and do more things, you can, but we still need to put in that. I think it's 150,
125.
125 you got to resurface it.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
we're making progress.
Definitely.
Anything else?
Oh, could you the technology plan that you presented at the budget meeting,
Okay.
just, it made me realize how massive it was when it was on a slide like that.
It's
and
massive.
Just curious, like what your strategy is to manage that. So that the end
Okay.
users, just from my
Oh.
experience when I was the CFO at the bank, you had the end users wanting this, and then you had the tech people doing this, and for some reason there was always this gap, and it can be mismanaged, and I'm not suggesting that you would do that, but and then money gets wasted, or you buy stuff you don't use. I'm just very curious.
All right. So what part?
I'm sure you have a plan.
So I do. I actually have several plans. So which one do you want to talk about first? Copiers are easy. Let's take them.
Yeah,
out,
no,
right?
I'm more.
So
yeah.
So do you want to talk about the laptops, or do you want to talk about
The screens in
The
every
screens.
room.
Okay.
Like, I'm totally pro tech.
Yeah.
I just want to
So
make sure. we're being
let's
so
talk
smart.
about the one-to-one initiative
Okay.
and the screens in both rooms, because I think we can put those together. SAMR, right? We talked about that before. SAMR. It's a hierarchy chart to move up the use of technology within your organization, especially in a school.
Okay.
Shauna Worthley has done a really good job of creating PD and opportunities around it. We've been talking about it a lot. As the studies say, you have to hear something about 9 times for people to actually internalize it.
Yeah.
So as we're doing all this work, we're also talking about instructional technology, which is her position. SAMR is, and I can pull it up if you want really quick to show it to you, but basically we're starting to kind of work with our staff saying, how do you integrate technology into the room so it's utilized by the kids, utilized as a resource, and by the teacher, so it doesn't just become display boards, right? So we're starting
Exactly.
that. So we're starting that work now.
And that they want them.
Right. Well, the tech committee is based off of teachers, and the teachers are the ones who have designed this and asked for these things.
They've asked for
So this is
Okay.
all coming from staff from K-12. So it's our tech committee is made of K-12 staff. They're the ones that asked for this.
All right.
Went through it. So it's coming from staff together.
That's a good start.
Yeah. So our tech committee is making that happen. So we're working on doing that. So as we put in those programs, Sean is going to do more and more work on integration specialty.
Okay.
Now, is every teacher going to be absolutely comfortable doing it right away? No. But we're getting to the point where they want it. I know our elementary school teachers, they want more.
Mhm.
Like, they don't want the projector screen any longer. They
Right.
want the smart boards. They want to be able to have the interaction
Okay.
aspects with it. So, those things are very important. So that's SAMR, and that's where that's going. The one-to-one technology
Mhm.
is, Sean and I sat down for a good hour and a half today, going over the full 12-page plan and expectations of it, that we're getting ready for a presentation to the board as well, and all the documents that go along with it, so then we can create it for our teachers. So same thing, our teachers are really good at knowing Google, grades 6 through 12. Now, SAMR again coming in, utilizing that work, pushing it out to our teachers, having our kids have all the resources, you then can increase your professional development as you go. I think we're at a really good time to do this because of what COVID, right? COVID made us flip our platforms. And I think Tim Creamer says it all the time, let's not forget the initiatives that we had. How do we build off of them? And that's why the one-to-one initiative now would be really good. And I don't think they're going to use it all the time. It's not something teachers will use, but that's going to be part of our professional development plan and our new technology plan. So when you said, see, I do have a plan. You know,
I know you do. No,
but so our technology, no.
I'm
This is why we're doing it. No, this is why I'm really happy that I actually can answer it. When I stutter and I can't answer it, that's when you're like, you know, I don't have a plan and I'm making up as I go. So our tech plan, which we're working again as our tech committee, that's also got to be given to the state. In that tech plan, it has very specific things, SMART goals, that are how do we utilize this, what do we do, who does it, and how's it going to get done. So those screens are going to be directly correlated to the tech plan.
Okay.
So, you know, we're having, so it's written documentation, goal setting of how we then get to the end point. Will it be a cluster every once in a while? Absolutely. But, you know, I think this initiative, and I've seen the initiatives you're talking about, where you put in smart boards and you say, oh, everybody's getting a smart board. And then a year later, nobody knows how to use a smart board, right? And they're sitting there and the teachers are literally writing them on like they would a chalkboard. That's not what we're going for. So I've seen that output before, and that's not where we are.
Great.
But having Shauna has been a huge key resource to make that work. Having someone whose sole job it is to create integration for our teachers and then create an integration plan for that. That's huge, and I don't know if like every organization has it. So
right, I've only heard wonderful things about how she's helping people. So I would agree from what I've heard. But thank you.
Rob, does that make sense to you as a tech person too?
Yeah.
Cool. But we're slow. I mean, again, it sounds like this is the things that are happening very quickly. Everything's very measured. We're taking our time, but still having the conversations. People are like, oh, we're still talking about it. We've only been talking about it for a year, and you know now we're putting into getting into practice and getting our stuff. But if we didn't talk about it for that year and what it's going to look like, then we wouldn't be able to actually put it in place.
Right.
So.
I didn't have anything else. Oh, you had mentioned, remember back with Albany County, and they were asking if you had a wish as we were moving forward in COVID, and we put together the price for HEPA units and everything.
Have not heard anything back from them yet. They actually they resent the survey out Monday, actually, to people who maybe haven't done it. So I have a meeting with Dr. Whalen on Friday, so I'm guessing the reach out again to the people who didn't do it is probably to get us ready for our conversation on Friday.
Okay.
So
that's still potentially on the table, and
yeah. I filled out my survey. I put my 2 cents in. I put out, the square footage of our rooms. My 2 cents was if you're going to buy one that we don't have to constantly buy filters for year after year after year, because then it becomes a cost burden on the district. So, if they can buy some that we don't have to spend $4,000 a year replacing filters, that would be great.
Excellent. Thank you for doing that.
Anything else?
I have nothing else, Rob. I don't know if you do.
Don't think so. I mean, we touched on athletic fields briefly in the beginning, but yeah, no, I think we're good.
Oh, and outdoor, the picnic tables are all there. Kids can use them once it's not wet.
They're not brought back out.
Oh,
there are
a
bunch of them there, but they're not all there. Some of them were removed for plowing reasons and make it easier for us. So as soon as the weather breaks a little bit more, we'll take the rest of them. They're behind the cafeteria, and we'll just bring them around.
Because that was
hitting 65 on Friday, so
yeah,
it's a swamp out there. I walked out to the backstop behind the ball field, and I stank about my ankles. Yes.
But I remember you making a good comment that we discovered we have an outdoors.
Oh yeah.
So.
Oh, it's staying.
I would hate for us to forget that.
Nope, it's staying. And with the elementary school, we're really excited, because of the green space that we're putting in. We did get the right-of-way work where we actually we're getting a little bit more specific on it, but that right-of-way butts right up to the playground. So from the building to the playground to
All
the
right.
road is all right away to the electrical company. So you really can't put anything in there like a pavilion or anything like that. On the other end of that though, on the other side of the asphalt, you could actually put in a pavilion. So there's the asphalt where the tennis court, where the basketball courts are. On the other side of that, we could talk about putting in a larger pavilion. And the reason why I'm saying a pavilion is think about like outdoor graduations
Right.
or other ceremonies like that, where instead of doing it inside, you can do it out underneath that, or classrooms for kids or stuff. So,
Instead of tents.
or instead of tents, right?
Right.
You know,
That's kind of a fun idea.
or koi pond or internet. And so if you have one-to-one initiative in the classroom, they can
Yeah.
all go outside. There's Wi-Fi right there, and then they have an opportunity to enjoy themselves with professional development or the
Beaver and then koi.
Yeah.
I did say koi pond. I
Food
did
source.
put koi pond in, but the Eagles will come down again.
Yeah.
Good. Anything else?
No, thank you.
All right. I'm going to turn us off.
Bye, Rob.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
See you, Rob.
All right.